first of all, how did you break into comic books?
So it's a long time ago. I was just a kid, very young, like right out of college, and way pre-internet.
Oh yeah.
And the comics, there were no movies. It's no películas. So it was nobody cared about comics. They were like junk, So it was easier back then to become a comic writer. Now it's muy difícil to be a comic writer, but back then easy, you could try. And so I became Jim Shooter's assistant at Marvel Comics. I was his secretary, and I'm a muy mal secretary. Very, very bad secretary. So Jim was like, make her an editor, because I was a good writer-editor. So Denny O'Neil,
yeah, of course,
who he did a lot of journalistic comics, like his Batman, No Hope in Crime Alley and Green Arrow. It was always like about issues, social justice, and I wanted to be a journalist, and so Denny was like, just put it in the comics. Just so when I started writing Daredevil, Denny became like my mentor, and he said, you want to do a story about nuclear power or animal rights or toxic spills or whatever you want to do, you just put it in the Daredevil comic. And it was perfect because Daredevil is a street hero, and he lives in Hell's Kitchen, and I live in New York, so I would just go to Hell's Kitchen. I'd sit on a bench in Hell's Kitchen, or I'd just wander the streets, and I would eavesdrop. And I would meet people, and I would hear things, and so I gave Matt Murdock, when he lost his law license, I gave him a legal clinic so he could help the poor, and then it was just working with John Romita Jr. So John Romita Jr. and we would always talk, and he would see someone in the street, like he saw this big black guy, and he said, I want to do a black, supervillain, and I want him to be called Shotgun. And I was like, okay, and then Johnny and I came up with Typhoid Mary together, and Bullet, and Bushwhacker. We created a lot of characters together.
And Blackheart.
Yes, Blackheart. We created Blackheart together because there was this big crossover called Inferno, and it was kind of like if you wanted to take your character to hell, you could take your character to hell. So of course I was like, yeah, New York is hell. The subways are hell. So we opened our story in a subway that goes to hell, and there's a dentist that suddenly turns into a demon. Now everything that was like you didn't like in your life, everything that was hellish became literal hell in this comic, and then we took Daredevil to hell. And that's when we created the son of Mephisto, Blackheart. So,
actually, now that you mention it, there is one story that I remember very fondly. I haven't read it in a while. The one where Matt Murdock goes to a bar in New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah. No, it's in New York. So, I was my boyfriend at the time. We broke up, and it was like Christmas Eve, and I was like, uh-oh. I broke up with my boyfriend on Christmas Eve. Now what? What do I do for Christmas? So there was a bar. I was downstairs from where I lived near Marvel Comics. And it was called Billy's Topless, and it was a strip bar. And so I say, okay, I'll go there on Christmas because there'll be people in the bar that have nowhere to go on Christmas like me. And so I had Daredevil have nowhere to go on Christmas. And I sat in the bar and I eavesdropped. And then Johnny Romita Jr., he had a lot of ideas too. He was like, what if two brothers get in a fight on Christmas? And so we both took our ideas for the kind of things that could happen in a strip bar. And it was, I forget, A Beer with the Devil, it was called.
Yes.
And so it's Matt Murdock drunk in a bar with nowhere to go on Christmas, thinking his life is a mess, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, yeah, it was Christmas because, like I told you, I read it a long time ago, but I remember how it made me feel that it was very, very good. It was something that you can connect with very easy.
Yeah, because just because he's a hero or I'm a comic book writer, you know, we've all had moments in our life where we're like, how did I mess up my life so much that I have nowhere to go on Christmas, you know? So it was human, a human story, yeah.
What do you enjoy more from comic books, the editorial part or the writing part? I think I know the answer, but I
the what part?
The editorial part, the one that you are an editor, the one that you're an assistant, the one that you're that part when you decide.
They're both good because when you write comics, the passions you feel that day come out. Like these comics here, this Ruby Falls. Ruby Falls is from my mother. Had dementia, and I was talking to her about her early life, and she said some things that surprised me. So I did a whole comic about a girl trying to find out if the things that her grandmother are saying could be real. And then with the seeds, which is this one, you know, the seeds is all about like how I feel about the environment and what's happening in the world, and especially about phones are addicted to phones. Yeah, I love my phone. Social media. So you walk around in life and you think about things and you have ideas and you put them in comics. But at the same time, it's a lot of fun to mentor, to like help other people bring their stories out. So a lot of my career at Marvel Comics was with being the editor of the X-Men and the New Mutants and working with Chris Claremont. And Chris Claremont has 1,000 ideas a minute. He like just sits there and it's like, it just comes out of him. And all you have to do when you work with Chris is say, that one's great, do that. And then he, you know, and it's like he's so easy to work with. So, and then other writers, they're kind of like, well, I kind of want to write a story about, you know, a banana. And you're like, okay, well, tell me more, you know. And so you really have to pull stories out of some people. Other people, like Chris Claremont, it's just like, wow, you know. So I like both.
Both?
Yeah, I like both.
Okay, I have another question related to your characters. Blackheart, Typhoid Mary, even Longshot, Mojo, Spiral, all of those guys. Where exactly did you took inspiration to create those guys? Do you have something?
I think, because Mojo is an old character. It's from 30 years ago.
Yes, of course.
At the time, there were people like Rupert Murdoch, and there was this thing called Channel One, where media companies were buying up other media companies. And there was this great writer called Noam Chomsky who wrote a book called Manufacturing Consent, and it was kind of about how if too many media companies buy each other, it becomes one voice. And so it was like the rise of Fox News, where it was like fake news and not real, and it was like news as entertainment, not good journalism. So Mojo was this idea, and because it was pre-internet, it was like we're all addicted to our televisions, and we're not even getting the truth from our television. So that's where Mojo came from.
Now we're not getting the truth from social media.
It's the same thing. It's like, that's what's sad for me sometimes, because you write a comic where you want to make a commentary about how we're not getting real news and we're too addicted, and then 30 years later, I'm more addicted, you know, than ever. So nothing changes.
Okay. Your run on Daredevil is something people still praise today. Even today, we still talk about it. Really, in reality, that's happened. It's a great example of character development, imagination, everything combined. You just mentioned that also Inferno was part of it. That thing with supernatural and combining with the streets and everything. Could you please tell me how would you describe your Matt Murdock version, the one that you have in your mind right now, the one that you did? How do you describe it?
Well, it's interesting because the law and the justice system doesn't work.
Yes.
So you try. Anyway, my brother is a longtime New York City lawyer, like worked for Mario Cuomo, the governor, worked for Elliot Spitzer, and so I understand that lawyers, good lawyers, have to believe in the law, that there's this thing, justice. But we see every day, all around us, everything is unjust.
Of course.
Everything. Like, why can't poor people have health care or a good wage? Why doesn't Amazon have to pay taxes? Like, why don't corporations have to pay? You have all this injustice everywhere. Mm-hmm. So for me, Matt Murdock believes in the law, and yet if he can't get the law to work, he uses his fists. But he also is Catholic. I'm raised Catholic, lapsed Catholic, but he wears the devil's suit. So it's like, there's that contradiction. There's the vigilante blind justice. He's a play on blind justice.
Literally and figuratively, yeah.
Literally, figuratively. So Matt Murdock and Daredevil, they are like so many contradictions living in one human being that he's endless stories, which is why I think that from Roger Mackenzie to Frank Miller, then after me, like Mark Waid, Chip Zdarsky, Brian Bendis, everybody, there's so many good writers on Daredevil because he is a great character, because there's so many contradictions. You can just over and over find a new angle on him. So that's why I love the character. It's always easy to come up with a new Daredevil story.
Do you have one upcoming?
Well, I did a short story with Chip Zdarsky in Daredevil 500 or whatever it was called. And I have something I'm working on that might be Daredevil, but first is Storm. Yeah, so Storm is from her punk era, and it's for me, who I was a kid I was like 17, 18 years old during the punk era, during Iggy Pop and Sid Vicious, and these guys they had the mosh pits, they were angry, they were screaming. The mohawks, they used a lot of glue to hold up the mohawk. That's not Storm. So why did Storm put on the punk outfit? And that's the question that I try to answer in the new Storm series. And I also get to go back to, there was a moment in the original series when she got her change and Kitty Pryde got very angry at her. So I am taking that angle, but I'm having Kitty Pryde get a big payback. First Storm changing her look, Kitty Pryde's going to change her look. To say, you see, you don't like it either.
What is the most important thing for a writer to keep in mind when you are doing your story?
Well, I think to be as honest as possible.
Okay.
Like for me, for Storm, I just thought, how does she hold that mohawk up? And she's not a punk. She's no Sid Vicious. So you think, like, what do you know? So that's what you can bring to it. Then you think about Kitty and Storm and how hurt Kitty was. So you find something real from your life. And then also, Storm pulls a rainstorm down. Is there a drought somewhere else? Mm-hmm. So I'm also working with, because we're in the middle of climate change, there's also a level where there's this new entity comes and tries to show her, you mess with the weather like corporations mess with the weather, and like it's not necessarily good what you're doing. So we also explore her powers, and every persona. We talk about her as a sorceress, as a weather entity, because she also has multiple personas. So
sounds great. Yeah. When is it coming up?
I think first issue is in May, and the second issue, this is the cover. The second issue cover is in June, and then this guy, Art Germ.
Ah, yeah, Art Germ.
Yeah, this is the
great.
First cover. So this summer it's coming up. Yeah.
Excellent. Finally, how do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years?
Yes.
Well, because I'm writing another series for Marvel that I can't talk about yet, but it's a main big superhero. And then I have another...
From Hell's Kitchen.
That too, but something else that I can't talk about.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So, but that one is going to be announced next month and is coming out in July. So I know where I'll be. I'll be writing comics. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Doing what you love.
That is doing what I love.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this.
You're welcome.
For this chat.
Yeah,
It was
de
amazing.
nada.
Yeah.
Gracias.
And Nocenti, señoras y señores. Hasta la próxima. Gracias.
Hola, Mexico.